Man with attempted murder following a stabbing attack on a train that wounded 11 people. British Transport Police say Anthony Williams faces 10 counts of attempted murder for Saturday's attack. He's also charged with attempted murder over a separate incident at a London transit station earlier that day. Police are still working to uncover a motive, but say it does not appear to be an act of terrorism. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has visited the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas.
The U.S. Defense Secretary and South Korea's Defense Minister received a briefing from military officials at Observation Post Welet, a site near the military demarcation line that past American presidents, including Donald Trump during his first term in 2019, had visited to peer across the border into North Korea and meet with American soldiers. They also visited the Panmunjom border village, where an armistice was signed to pause the 1950-53 Korean War. Hegseth did not mention North Korea, which has ignored Washington and Seoul's calls for dialogue in recent years, while accelerating the expansion of its nuclear weapons and missile program. Hegseth is visiting US ally South Korea for security talks. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
New York City's mayoral candidates are set to make a final push to get voters to the polls. Ahead of Election Day tomorrow, Democratic nominee Zoran Mamdani, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and Republican Curtis Sliwa have all spent the race's final stretch campaigning across New York City's 5 boroughs as they make their case to succeed outgoing Mayor Eric Adams. And the government shutdown could become the longest ever this week. Millions of people could lose food aid benefits. This is AP News. One of America's most iconic college football teams is once again on the rise.
Notre Dame's return to the top of the college football mountain seemed unlikely after back-to-back losses to open the season. Ever since, the Fighting Irish are unbeaten behind freshman quarterback C.J. Carr.
We had a really good team last year, really good players, and we feel like we have the same talent, if not better, this year.
Coach Marcus Freeman's team has won 6 straight games to put themselves in position to compete for another title after falling to Ohio State in last year's college football playoff national championship.
As you move farther in the month of November, everything is magnified.
The then 12th-ranked Fighting Irish defeated Boston College 25-10 on Saturday. For the first time, the top 12 teams in the CFP rankings will square off for a shot at this season's title. Gethin Coolbaugh, Boston.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high around 60 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, increasing cloud cover with a low around 40. By Tuesday, skies become mostly sunny, high of 61 degrees. And Wednesday, sunshine with a high around 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 45.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She could get a deal, book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. It is time to fight. Welcome to the November 3rd. That's 2025. Devin, it's November 3rd. Yeah, I know Saturday was the first and yesterday was the second, but we're in the first full week of November, guys. How about that? We made it this far. We're going to keep it going. Yes, Choose Views. Here we are, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com, and YouTube. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com and follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, and Substack. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Ms. Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture, with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. And by all means, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. Oh, gosh. Too much to tell you about, but you got to know. The DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem, says that she'd rather than pausing ice raids in Chicago for Halloween weekend, she's going to ramp them up. There's a word for that I won't use, but you guys can figure it out. There's some great interviews, as always, that we have at Heartland Signal. Indiana Republicans are flip-flopping on partisan redistricting. That's one you want to check out. And Illinois Representative Delia Ramirez talking about ICE and their inappropriate behavior. I'm going to have we've got a week of candidates that are running for offices, some that are already in office and some that are running for offices that are going to be vacated and all the rest. But on our show today, that congressional leader or that person that's going to be with us is Congresswoman Robin Kelly from the great state of Illinois, Congressional District number 2. She'll be with us in the 7 o'clock hour. Looking forward to chatting with her. I'm going to ask her some questions about a variety of things that are going on with ICE and with the shutdown, but also talk to her about her campaign. And through the course of the week, we're going to be talking with other folks that are running for different offices. And as you guys know, she's running for U.S. Senate, the seat that Dick Durbin is not going to rerun for. Throughout the course of the week, tomorrow, Francesca Hong, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Sean Harris, Amy McGrath, Melissa Bean, Joel Willett will be with us. And then Friday, we'll be talking with Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago. So there you go. We've got a week of folks, and we may have some others that pop in kind of last minute. So we'll see how that plays out each day. But I'd like to get your questions from you guys. Give us a call this morning in the 6:30 to 7 hour. I'll look to try to take as many calls as we can if we get calls from you guys. And while almost said Senator Kelly, while Congresswoman Kelly is on with us, we may be able to take some calls during that time. So she'll be with us in the 7 to 7:30 hour. And who knows, she may stay a little bit longer depending on her schedule this morning. So we'll play that by ear once the Congresswoman is with us. So, yeah, that's what's happening today. And then throughout the course of this week, it is November 3rd, first full week of November. It's election week. So throughout the country, there are going to be various elections. I know that some of you said that we should have been talking more about the elections, but we've been talking about it as often as we can, or it comes to mind. But if you have been following elections anywhere in the country, this is not midterm elections. These are, we'll call these midterm elections. But it's an important week. What's happening in New Jersey, what's happening in Virginia in terms of those governor's races with Spanberger and Sherrill. You guys, anybody that you know that may be living, I've got family that lives in those states, and I've talked to them. In fact, I talked to my sister and brother-in-law last Friday, and they were heading out to early vote in Virginia. So anybody that you know that's in either of those two states, particularly those governors' races, are super important. Virginia is always an important race, just because of the proximity to Washington, D.C., so we want to take that governor's mansion back, and I'm excited to see what Ms. Spanberger will do in that role, as well as Ms. Sherrill will do in her role. So if you're there, get out and vote if you haven't already, and if you know someone, maybe pick up the phone and call them, or send them a text message and say, hey, hope you're voting, hope you got everything you need to be able to get out and vote. In the election tomorrow. So, all right. Check this out, progressives.
As a father, as a husband, as someone who has come from a working class family, when the ends did not always meet, I know what it's like to open up a refrigerator and there's no food in it. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. It's degrading. That's not the type of life that I want for my children. It's certainly not the life that I want for other people's children. I believe we're just seeing the beginning of an incredibly profound impact that the federal government's cuts is going to continue to have on local municipalities. And so the success is going to be on whether or not Springfield is committed, like cities are, to put forth progressive revenue to protect working people, right? Look, they had 33 proposals last year for progressive revenue. They got 3 across the finish line. Now, as a public school teacher, I will give credit to anyone who makes an attempt at completing their assignment. I just want you to keep in mind, of those 33 ideas, the vast majority of them are coming from individuals who represent Chicago. It's a matter of life and death for many of these families. Without health care, people will die. They will. And without access to food, more children will go to bed hungry. That's a problem. And so my team is working hard every single day to ensure that everyday people can access the very fundamentals of life. And that's food, shelter, education, transportation, good paying jobs, and health care.
That, of course, is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson talking about the incredibly challenging reality that many families are facing with not only this government shutdown, but improper funding through not just the state of Illinois, but throughout the rest of the country. This government shutdown is a big part of what's happening. The governor here in Illinois is doing what he can to offset and to shield what the federal government is weighing down on the state of Illinois and Chicago. As with every other state and city in the country, every family is in some way impacted by this. You know, what Mayor Johnson is also saying here that goes on a little bit unsaid sometimes is that the people who are at the in the position to make the tough decisions on the federal level shouldn't be there. They're making decisions that when you think about it, that should be really easy because it's about the people in the country, no matter what they look like, what they sound like, and all the rest. Who they love, who they don't love. This is a basic conversation around humanity. And there's no. I'm going to play a variety of clips today at some point to talk about the different things that are happening and how this is being viewed, what the optics are. And you know, one of the optics recently is this sort of narrative that the fault of what's happening with this government shutdown is a fault of the Democrats, and it's just not. I mean, I know that people want to say if you know X number of Democratic senators were to vote with the Republicans, and we could open up all that, but we wouldn't be here in the first place if the Republicans had put together a bill that didn't take away people's health care or try to take away people's health care. So this is on the Republicans. This is not on the Democrats. And I'm not going to hear, I'm going to hear it, but I'm not going to accept it when people say that the Democrats are the ones at fault. Not when the three branches of when the House, the Senate, and the White House have those three bodies, those three entities have the power to create the right type of plans for the nation when it comes to healthcare. And that is the thing that's causing a lot of this consternation. But at the same time, the Republicans are the ones that are still in charge. And so, you know, I know that there's a lot of people that want to say, but the Democrats could just, they're not, the Republicans are not negotiating in good faith. And we'll talk with Congresswoman Kelly about that a little bit later in the show. And, you know, we'll get a little bit more information from her in that space. But I just wanted to kind of open with that clip from Mayor Johnson. Nobody wants to be in this situation. And it's time for people to stop blaming Democrats for this when Republicans have not only the numbers, but they're the ones that are coming to the table not negotiating in good faith. And so hopefully Congresswoman Kelly and I will be able to talk a little bit about that, and she can shed a little bit more light on this this conversation and this narrative. So we'll get to that. Let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check Up on Health with Chris Whitting.
An estimated 7.2 million Americans over age 65 currently live with Alzheimer's disease. But can it be prevented? Charles Hennekins, MD, from Florida Atlantic University's Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine, says yes.
Medical conditions such as lipid disorders, high blood pressure, diabetes and depression, and social isolation and intellectual inactivity, they seem to play important roles in cognitive decline. And the most recent research suggests that changing these lifestyle factors could not only delay or avoid cognitive decline, but might even improve it.
Dr. Hennekins' advice?
Don't just think about making these changes, just do it now. It will have enormous benefits on your heart, your brain, and on your cognitive function as well.
With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Good to be with you on this November 3rd, 2025. And with that being said, we've got a couple of Choose Views news items that I'll share with you on this Monday. Slower hiring is pinching entry-level wages the hardest. While a softening labor market has affected pay gains for all Americans, those who are entering the workforce are the hardest hit. Annual income growth for those aged 25 to 29 slowed to 5.2% in September, according to the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute, one of the smallest gains since the Great Recession. Target delivered staff cuts over glitchy Zoom call. Okay, that's a mouthful. More details are emerging around Target's first major restructuring in a decade, according to an anonymously sourced Bloomberg report. About 1,000 Target employees were let go in a glitchy Zoom video call that suffered several audio issues. Many confirmed their findings only in a subsequent human resources email. The blunder comes a week after Target's security department performed a phishing exercise that claimed to be a job interview. The beleaguered retailer has been attempting to turn around after multiple sales slumps. There you go. Elder care costs is growing, and it's becoming a crisis as the population is aging. A confluence of factors is fraying the social safety net for one of our most vulnerable populations, that being seniors. According to Axios, the cost of in-home elder care has skyrocketed in the last year, rising at 3 times the rate of inflation, which is already high. Costs soared 7% between August and September, driven higher by federal immigration policy, which has limited the worker pool. Get that, Trump? And provided what's known as the silver tsunami of baby boomers as more continue to age. The implications are dire, especially with Medicaid funding projected to fall. Seniors could be institutionalized or their children forced to leave the workforce. Not good. America's top startups by city. I guess this is just an informative piece that I thought was really important for those to be mindful of. From AI innovators in San Francisco to biotech firms in Boston, LinkedIn's top startup cities list surfaces again, emerging companies growing faster and faster, gaining attention in the top 10 major metropolitan areas across the country. In terms of startups, the database and ranking evaluates companies across the same metrics as U.S. top startup list, uncovering innovation at a localized level. The featured companies span from various industries: aerospace, consumer goods, cybersecurity, technologies. And the list is Austin, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Dallas, Texas, Denver, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, Washington, D.C. Oh, I forgot. Chicago. I didn't really forget. Austin, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. What is it that those 10 cities have in common? All of them are blue cities from a political standpoint. All of those cities are diverse. Even Austin and Dallas, which are in Texas, are diverse cities. Diversity in many shapes, forms, and fashions. Austin, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. 3 of those cities are cities that Trump is attacking. But there also happen to be the three cities that are on the top 10 for startups and new employment in that space. So you go back to it and you think about it and say, wow, it's not attacking some of the red cities, that ones that didn't make this list, for example. It's attacking the blue cities. And when you look at this list, and these are blue cities, only 2 of which are not in a blue state, that being Texas, Austin, and Dallas, that's pretty profound. Boston, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. That ought to tell you something. If you want the list, email me and I'll send it to you. Just wanted to bring that to you guys this morning. A couple of Choose Views news items. All right. So, part of where we are right now on a federal level in terms of ICE, in terms of this shutdown, in terms of health care, across the board in terms of health care, in terms of the economy, are all things that come back to people's lives being made problematic, challenging, hard as hell, difficult, whatever, painful, all sorts of words to denote what the federal government is doing to put more pressure on states and cities. And so part of what we have to do, and part of what Mayor Johnson was saying in that clip, is we have to maintain our humanity. We have to maintain a sense of taking care of one another and maintain a sense of being aware of what's important, not just to ourselves, but to those that we care about, even if we don't know them. And so I just want to highlight a couple of things that people have done. One is a person I know, and the other is a person I know of. When it comes to helping people, our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics podcast mentioned last week when she was on Friday about a situation with a family that's been impacted by ICE and the Broadview detention fiasco. And so I just wanted to read from a post that she put out that I thought was important for you guys to be aware of. And it's entitled, by the way, it's on her Substack page. The consequences of the GOP DHS policies. I met Christopher in the first couple of weeks that I began standing outside of the Broadview ICE Detention Center and facility in Broadview, Illinois. He was in search of his brother's whereabouts after he had been abducted off his work truck in Chicago. The final outcome was that his brother was deported to Mexico, leaving Christopher and their mother alone to navigate without the primary income of their family's economy. As a result, there is little food in the refrigerator, and as it stands right now, they are officially 2 rent payments behind. They were told that the eviction process would begin if they were unable to provide their landlord with the October and November rent. They are just one of many stories to be unfolding across America at the hands of the inhumane and cruel policies of the Trump administration, with the majority of the Republican Party aiding and abetting. This is no longer a country that I recognize. I have started a GoFundMe for Christopher and his mother. Please donate whatever you can. Any amount helps. You can go to her Substack page to get the link, because links are hard to read sometimes, and you won't write it down fast enough. Anyhow, the reason I wanted to highlight this is kind of goes back to what I was saying and why I had the clip with regard to Mayor Johnson. Families are struggling. Families are suffering. Families are about to see some of the most horrible times in their lives. And in this part of the world, this part of the country specifically, the weather's about to get much colder. And so at a time when there should be humanity coming from this White House, I worry about how families are going to make it through the winter here in Chicago and other northern cities where the temperature is just going to get ugly. So what I want y'all to do is a version of what Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens has done. And let me clean this up. What I'd like you all to do is make phone calls. This administration is off the rails. They're unhinged, and they all need to be reined in, including Donald Trump. Most definitely Donald Trump and his vice president, little puppet, J.D. Vance. Same thing for him and the entire administration. It's about to get really cold in parts of America, and for people to be out having to fight for their sanctity and their survival because of this unhinged, off-the-rails, crazy A administration is just not humane. It hurts my heart in so many ways to know that this next 3, 4, 5 months in Chicago, anything could happen with our weather. It could just be brutally. We might catch a break this year. We've caught breaks because of climate change the last decade. But this might be that year that we catch hell. So the Trump administration needs to back off. If they want to have their ICE agents out doing the things that they're going to be doing, some of their ICE agents are going to get injured and hurt because of the weather. Some of them are going to get sick, may get pneumonia, may catch other whatevers during this cold weather here in Chicago. No matter how much gear they have on, so there's going to be some guys that are going to slip and fall. They're going to step on some black ice, Devin, and somebody's going to break an ankle, blow out a knee, fracture a hip. That stuff's going to happen. Mark my words. So there are going to be some ICE agents that are stepping on ice that are going to get hurt, let alone the families whose lives are causing terror for. So what I want you guys to do, if you want, you can go to Substack. Karen Byrne from Resistance Journal. That's her Substack handle, or you can follow her on any of the socials. But go to this GoFundMe page. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are happening. We all can be doing things to help families, but I just felt it was important to highlight this and the work that Karen's doing and that so many other people are doing. There's others like Karen all over the country that are doing various things. Obviously, here in Chicago, they've directed their heat on this city. The other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of people doing things to help folks and understanding the moment that we're in, Andre Dickens is the mayor of Atlanta. He's known for really being focused on the community. And so this is what's taking place there. He announced a pause on evictions and water shutoffs to protect residents, affected by the federal SNAP funding lapse. With many families at risk of losing food assistance, his decision aims to keep vulnerable households stable and to ensure no one is left without basic needs during this crisis. I hope other mayors can do a version of that, given their state. Other governors, I should say, can do that. And as long as their attorneys general, as long as the attorneys generals in those respective states and the city attorneys say it's doable, then go ahead and do it, because it's about humanity and it's about maintaining people's dignity. And that's why I wanted to play that clip from Mayor Johnson. But I also wanted to talk about what, like I said, a person that I know and one that I don't know, I know of, that being Mayor Andre Dickens of Atlanta, is doing something that's humane to help the people of his community. Karen's started the GoFundMe page to help the people of our community. We all can be doing things to help people. I know that listen, this is a time when I was hoping we weren't, a year ago, that we were going to be moving in certainly a different direction than we are in now. But as I say that, I also know that we do have to dig in a little bit. Kind of sucks that we have to do it, but here we are. So let's do the best that we can to help folks. And I know that, we do this every holiday season. It's holiday season, and we all kind of raise our awareness to this time of year. But yeah, we want to do that. We want to make sure that we're taking care of people and we're observant of what's happening in their lives. Try to expand take this the right way. Open your eyes, meaning try to expand, look around, turn your head a little bit more and pay attention to things that you see that may not seem normal in your neighborhood, in your community, at your school, all the things, all the venues that you're a part of. Just be mindful of where people are, what people might be going through. If you have a coworker that just doesn't quite seem right these days, there might be some other things going on that are tied to this federal carnage that's happening. So just be mindful of that. That's all I ask of y'all, is just be mindful of those things. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Civil Rights Snapshot. The COVID-19 pandemic showed the bravery, dedication, and intelligence our doctors and nurses had, regardless of their gender. However, this was not always the case. Back in the 1800s, the idea of a woman doctor was laughable. When Elizabeth Blackwell applied to Geneva Medical College, the students voted on whether or not to accept women into their school. The students agreed to it as a joke, thinking it would be funny to see women fail in their field. Elizabeth felt compelled to become a doctor after a conversation with a dying friend who told her that her ordeal had been that much worse because her physicians were all men. Many of her fellow students and the town shunned her, and one professor tried to scare her out of his class. Regardless, Elizabeth stayed determined and graduated, but after, the dean of her school said he did not wish for more women to enroll. Despite the sexist discrimination, Elizabeth contributed to the first generation of women doctors in America and even opened up her own hospital. And in 2017, for the first time ever, a majority of medical students in the United States were women. Please stay vigilant about our civil rights. The fight is never over.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high around 60 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, increasing cloud cover with a low around 40. By Tuesday, skies become mostly sunny, high of 61 degrees, and Wednesday, sunshine with a high around 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 46.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys. Yes, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. You'll hear this a lot from me these next couple of months. I know you'll hear me throwing some flame at the GOP because they need to be thrown at them on all levels. You're going to hear that part of the conversation, part of the interviews. We're going to maintain our dignity and keep providing you with updates and information and all that. I've got some things we'll cover in the 7:30 hour. But I'm also going to do my best to remind us to do what we can to help folks during this period of time. Both with regard to SNAP and with ICE and all the rest, just the general economy and all the things that folks are struggling with when it comes to health care, Medicare, and Medicaid. Because if one's out of balance, the other one has to make up the difference. We know that. One's federal, one's state. But if it's out of balance, it's going to put more pressure on the other. So I'm going to do my best to keep reminding us to talk to each other, to be aware of each other. I hear the phrase, have your head on a swivel. That's a safety issue. But have your mindset on, being aware of what's going on in different communities. I think it's important that we really at this time, this particular holiday season, this particular cold season in parts of the country, that we are aware of how people are dealing with things and how where their struggles might be. The tariffs have been hugely problematic for businesses, and they've been problematic for some of the small and medium-sized businesses that we don't hear a lot about. I don't know why that is necessarily where the mainstream media needs to go, but their unwillingness to talk about how the tariffs are impacting some of the small and medium-sized businesses, it's once again their inability to be, more than just talking heads or more than just, following what the C-suite wants them to do. At least, fortunately, for those of us in progressive media, if we can call it that, we do get to speak about the things that are happening to each of us or those that we care about on a day-to-day basis. And I'm always reminding myself to do a better job of talking about them and yelling as necessary and trying to provide you guys with some tools and resources to be able to go forward. So we want to continue to move down that path as best we can. But I go back to what Mayor Andre Dickens has done down in Atlanta, and that's one of the things that we do. We as progressive liberal Democrats, wherever we are on that spectrum, our objectives should be, our goals should be to make sure that we're coming up with ways or doing things that are going to benefit other people's lives. And so I applaud him for that. And I don't know him, like I said, know of him, followed what he's done, and this is one of those moments. So fingers crossed, we might get lucky and be able to get him on the show at some point to talk about that. But this week's going to be a lot of fun with the different candidates that we're going to have on the show. As I mentioned, everybody from our own Lieutenant Governor here in Illinois, Juliana Stratton, Sean Harris, Francesca Hong, Amy McGrath, Melissa Bean, Joel Willett, and of course today we will have with us Congresswoman Robin Kelly to chat us up on what she's working on, her fight, and what she sees as a member of Congress, and how they're making the sausage, if you will. So we'll look forward to have a chance to chat with her. One of the things that when I talked about this the other day, I went on a trip to Canada a couple weeks ago, if you guys remember, and I said that, and I put this as a one of my articles in Substack about the importance of getting out of our own neighborhood, getting out of our own space for a little bit, go get lost, if you will, in a safe way. But I think what's important in doing that and traveling, even if you can't take an out of the country trip or cross country trip, or you're saving those vacation days and dollars for the holidays, we all have been there. We all get it. Like Mayor Johnson said about understanding that the challenge of that empty refrigerator. But as best you can, guys, one of the tools that I've used for most of my life is to go someplace that's unfamiliar. And I've always felt that by doing that, by going someplace that's unfamiliar, any of your assumptions or predispositions get challenged. They get kind of pushed. It makes you think a little bit differently about what you may have thought about a particular area. And I think at this point where we are as a society, why that remains to be important, while I'll remain talking about it, is it may help you be able to develop some tools for dealing with things in your own community, your own neighborhood. And you also get a chance to see people a little bit differently. So I just want to remind you guys of that. It's important to me, and I want you guys to be aware of it. But I promised you a couple of clips. And we talked about tariffs and how tariffs are impacting small businesses in the way that they are. So we have a clip from Jason Crow, who was on MSNBC, speaking about that very thing.
Donald Trump is largely using tariffs. I'm glad you raised that, because he's actually largely using tariffs to enrich himself and his family. Right? They are using the threat of tariffs to strike golf course deals around the world. They're using the threat of tariffs to put pressure on Brazil because they did something to one of his allies and friends that they didn't like. He's actually now threatening the Colombian president in Colombia with tariffs because the Colombian president tweeted something that he didn't like. Donald Trump is personalizing American power and our economic system for his personal benefit and the enrichment of his family, which, by the way, while Americans suffer and kids go hungry, he's building a $300 million gold-plated ballroom. He's found money for $170 million of new private jets for Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security. He's found money for all sorts of things that are important to him and his family, and he has enriched himself by several $1 billion this year alone through his meme coins, through his digital currency that he's issuing, that foreign leaders and foreign investors are investing in without any oversight whatsoever. That is what's happening in America today.
Meanwhile, and that's Jason Crow. So let me just come back to some numbers for a second. $300 million for a gold-plated ballroom. For what? For absolutely what? There is no reason to build that. And listen, let me back up and say it this way. Let me put it this way. If there is a reason to build it, it's about timing. Right now, in the first, not even the first year of his administration, he's going to build this thing. For what? That question has to be asked. And I want to see more journalists ask Republicans, why is Donald Trump? Why are you not having something to say about Donald Trump spending $300 million to build this, this ballroom? And let's position it like this in our thinking. Whether the money's coming from donations, whether the money's coming, however it's coming, people have tried to play this game that it's not coming out of the federal budget. It's not this, it's not that. It's coming from private. Okay, let's just say for a minute that it's coming from private funding. Why do you need to build it when there are people who are on the brink of starving and having their lives upended? If you're going to raise $300 million from private funding, why for a ballroom? Take that $300 million that you raised, maybe upgrade the ballroom a little bit. Spend $5 million touching it up, making it look better. Just some things to, do some good cosmetic upgrades to make it look nice. And take the other $295 million and ask the question, how can we use those funds to help people who are struggling? How about that? Let's go. If we're going to use the private sector to raise the $300 million to build this ballroom, hey, let's raise that private funding and then have that money go to help people who are in need. $170 million on jets? That crazy lunatic idea. See, you thought I was going to say something about somebody else. Devin was like, oh, God, he had too much coffee. But that crazy lunatic idea does not need to be fulfilled with the dog killer. It just doesn't. For what? For what? What does she need to be again, that money, wherever it's coming from, for those who want to say, oh, but it's private funding. Okay, so that's another $170 million that could go to help families. Go to help law enforcement in cities that he says are awful cities. So Jason's right on point. This is the ultimate grift of all time in America. And if Republicans, I don't mean elected officials, I mean everyday Republicans, many of which are white Americans that are the highest percentage of people that are recipient of SNAP benefits, don't have the courage and the guts and the honesty and the humanity to step up right now, that's on you. Plain and simple. Stop blaming Democrats or Democratic elected officials when it's in the laps of the people who fit that demographic. All right, let's grab a quick call. Our good friend Kurt from Akron, Ohio. Hey, Kurt, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for taking the call.
Absolutely.
Hey, first of all, the city or the county of Summit County, Ohio, which has Akron, where I live, Hudson, where Amanda Weinstein lives, places like that. The Metro bus service, the public transportation service, as well as their curb-to-curb service for Americans with disabilities, will be offering free service for people in the county who receive the SNAP EBT or Ohio Direction Card.
No kidding. So Kurt, at whose direction is that coming from?
Democratic County Executive Eileen Shapiro.
Got it. All right, right on, Ms. Shapiro.
And I sent you the meme of what Metro's doing. So,
well, if you can help get her on the show, that would be great. I know you're a busy dude, but I'd love to talk to her about her courage and her ability to kind of look forward to help people in the immediate community that she serves.
And I did text Mayor Shamus Malik and you about what is he doing for the city of Akron for the same people like in Atlanta with the mayor down in Atlanta. But the reason I called was, do you remember about 15 years ago when we were in the depths of the Great Recession and people were teabaggers at that time before they were maggots? And they were crying and complaining that Barack and Michelle Obama were using Air Force One to go on date nights in New York City.
Yep.
Because here they were living it up while everyone out in the real world were suffering.
Yes, I do.
And yet these same people say boo about what you just talked about.
Yeah, I know, man. And it's the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is just awful.
Want me to tell you the dirty secret on that?
Go for it.
It's because they're black and they don't belong in that society.
Don't tell anybody. Don't let anybody know.
But that's the whole reason why, because as Lyndon Johnson said, if you can convince one low-class white man he's better than 100, or was it 100 or was it, I forget the numbers, but anyway, basically you're saying you can convince a low-class white person they're better than a upper-class black person, then you've done something.
Yeah, they'll empty their pockets for you. Kurt, my man, thank you as always for your information. Steve, let me know what we can do on trying to get Ms. Shapiro on. We're going to take a quick break, though. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM for Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
I am, of course, thrilled to be joined by Simon Rosenberg. We can't in any way compromise on and sort of sugarcoat or put lipstick on the Trumpian pig on this sort of racial assault against people of lesser means and of different race. This whole notion that somehow white people in this world are somehow superior to all the other people of the world. Maybe, we could have believed that 150 or 200 years ago, but today it's an absurdity, right? And so we have an obligation. I think that we have to understand now that one of our central collective projects, Edwin, together, is to face white supremacy head on and defeat it.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hey, it's the Paulacious One. I'm up on the transmitter trying to power us up so you can hear us on 820. But if you can't hear us on the radio, you can also hear us on heartlandsignal.com, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn Radio app, and SoundCloud.com/WCPT820. It's the Sports Cubicle, 9 p.m. on Sundays on WCPT. Whoa!
The Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. I always appreciate my man, Kurt Herner from Ohio. He's always in play. He's always staying informed and keeping folks informed. So just a shout out to you, Kurt, for being a diligent fighter in this crazy time we're in. All right, today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be joined by fifth-generation Illinois soybean farmer John Bartman, Bob Kressner, former Illinois Lieutenant Governor under former Governor Jim Edgar, and Eric Zorn, writer, publisher of the Picayune Sentinel. That's such a hard word to say. Picayune Sentinel. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, AM at 20, heartlandsignal.com, and TuneIn Radio. And then tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez is back. And our guests include comedians Evie Cato and Soli Santos. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. here on WCPT, AM 820, the Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow on Choose Views, as I said earlier, my candidate week interviews will continue. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, also candidate for U.S. Senate, and Wisconsin gubernatorial hopeful Francesca Hong. As you guys know, Friday will be with Mayor Johnson. So just letting you guys keep in mind of that. And make sure you're checking out the Choose Views featured interviews and full episodes podcasts. They're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Search for Choose Views or visit our brand new podcast page at heartlandsignal.com/podcast. Our latest additions to my featured interviews are Margaret Donovan, who you guys remember from last week, Yale law professor and former assistant United States attorney with the District of Connecticut. Trump administration whistleblower Miles Taylor with Represent Us and CEO Maria McFarland Sanchez Moreno. So, yeah, lots of strong interviews there. Kristen Kroll, Demi Pelichek, Stacey Davis Gates, the list goes on. Texas State Rep Wu. So make your way over to the podcast and share those with people that want to check out the work that we do here on CPT. talking about Democratic voices getting it right and saying what needs to be said. You guys may or may not have seen this press conference that was held by a handful of Democratic congressional leaders. And I can't wait to talk to this gentleman, hopefully in the near future. Representative Joe Neguse sets the record straight.
If we come to November 1st and these contingency funds haven't been released, if nothing has been accomplished in restoring SNAP benefits, will you call on your Democratic colleagues to reopen the government and deal with these shutdown crises immediately, deal with health care conversations once the government is reopened?
So let me ask you a question. The basis for your question is, and maybe the better way to state it would be, if the Trump administration continues to violate the law, if the Trump administration unlawfully refuses to release funds so that families in Colorado don't go hungry, if the Trump administration refuses to follow the law as they have for the better course of the last 9 months, violating statute after statute, if in that scenario these actions unfold, then how will Democrats respond? That, my view, would be a more fair characterization of the question that you've posed, because it does feel a little bit like we're in the twilight zone here, with an administration that is lawless, violates the law with impunity, is now doing so with respect to the release of funds for families that may go hungry. We're here in Washington. You're here in Washington. House Republicans are gone, 6 weeks and counting, gone, literally gone. Won't show up in Washington, won't do town halls back in their respective districts. And somehow the question is posed to House Democrats as to how we will respond. The Trump administration needs to follow the law. And insofar, you've heard all my colleagues repeatedly suggest we would like to negotiate an agreement in good faith with our Republican colleagues. That is why we're here in our nation's capital. The question should be posed to Republicans. When will they get serious about working with us in good faith so that we can reach an agreement? And the passion you hear is frustration with the fact that Republicans could just simply abandon their post for 6 weeks, that the Trump administration can just violate the law without consequence. It should offend everyone. It certainly offends me.
That was Representative from Colorado, 2nd Congressional District, Joe Neguse. And that's what I call setting the record straight. More people, that's the kind of voice that we've been asking for and want to hear more of. And I'm sure that Representative Kelly, Congresswoman Kelly, may have some comments about that as well. But he's spot on. You know, and what I hope more and more of our Democratic elected officials will do on all levels, whether it be Mayor Johnson here, Governor Pritzker here in Illinois, our federal folks, is speak to the reporters that way. Quickly reframe it. Don't let that dumb A question be out there. Mayor Johnson did it. Governor Pritzker's been doing it. Governor Newsom's been doing it. Governor Mills has been doing it. We need that needs to be at the beginning of any answer from any of these dumb A questions from reporters and journalists, whether they be sitting at on a panel, whether they be in the interview, live on the network, whether they be in a press conference, is to quickly reframe it and talk over the journalist, talk over whoever the host is, if they need to make sure that the point is made. Talk over them so that your message is stronger than the crazy question and the positioning that they want to create. And so kudos to Representative Neguse for his, not being willing to hear that garbage and speak the truth about what's happening. Okay. I want to hit you with one more clip before we take this break. But I was asked if I could give us a name of the GoFundMe for Christopher. GoFundMe CEE63 DF09 are the numbers that I have. Karen, if you happen to be listening, text me the name of the GoFundMe page. so that, because I apologize, the clip doesn't give me that answer. So we'll try to get that for you guys so that you can go to the GoFundMe page and do what you got to do. All right. This one's gonna make you chuckle. It's a little bit of a it's not a diversion. That's not the right word. It is our good friend Monty Marty talking about something that a lot of people have been observing, I guess is a good word, but it reeks of a certain amount of I don't know. There's the word. I'm losing words in terms of what I want. I know what I want to say, but I can't say it on the air. But you guys have seen this clip. You've seen this photo of Erica Kirk and I almost said Charlie Kirk, but Erica Kirk and J.D. Vance. But Monty Marty puts a nice spin on this. Let's give him that, Devin.
Usha, get out of there, sis, before there's a tragic accident involving you and the kids, before there's a political crime, because what the was that? Yeah, I saw the whole speech. I saw her face fall when J.D. Vance's wife was mentioned, where she started scowling. I saw her compare him to her dead husband, and I'm going to change my costume tonight to a widow pretending to mourn her husband, because I have waited for Hot Pockets to cool longer than Erica Kirk has mourned for Charlie. They're already ingratiating him into Turning Point, so he has a little more face time for when he takes over Tangerine Palpatine. I saw the hug with the hand in the hair, which you don't hug someone like that you're not very knowledgeable about. And I saw the hand on the leather pants hip. Yeah, because what's the one stain on J.D. Vance's resume besides the fact that he has no riz? Well, it's that his wife's brown. And when MAGA pushed back on that initially, his defense of his wife was, well, she's a good mom. And then most recently, he demonized her in front of a group of people about her religion that she had when he married her, saying he hoped that she would repent of the error of her ways. Put her down in front of an entire group of people. Did you know that they were about to get separated before JD was going to get tapped for VP, and they worked out some kind of arrangement? Don't get me wrong. I don't give Usha a pass for buying in because she knew what she was getting into. But that's the stain, because we can have a foreign first lady, not a brown one. And how convenient that there is a perfectly packaged white supremacy looking union that can happen to surge the factions together, bring the cult together, if you will. He's already using the podcast from the White House. They already know Trump's health's on his way out. What better way than to attach him to the Kirks? Because you saw these posters that the Labor Department put out, right? Oh, sorry, these ones. Yeah. White supremacy branding. Make it look pretty, perfect, white, forward-facing, and hot all the time. The same style of branding, in fact, that they used to pull women out of the workforce after World War II, because they were like, oh, we can't have women having money and autonomy, and the women liked it. So what did the government do? They issued nationwide campaigns to convince women your happiest whole self is going to be in the house. Get your wife a vacuum cleaner. And they had women drugged up on uppers to get through the day, downers to go to sleep at night, so much so that they advertised them as mommy's little helpers in women's magazines. Women's suicide rates was sky high. They jokeified domestic violence, allowed for the legality of marital rape, and did not allow for no-fault divorce, and called it the natural order. Because nothing says natural order like having to force it on people and create an image that doesn't exist.
If you want that clip, I'll send it to you. Just email me, richard@WCPT820.com. That is Monty Marty speaking some truth about what is behind the curtain, if you will. So, guys, pay attention to this as much as there's all these other crazy things that are happening on the financial side of where we are as a country, on an economic side, on a healthcare side, on a safety and security side. There's this. There's this. My. Let's take a quick break. It's the top of the hour, 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT. AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Constipation with belly pain that keeps coming back and back and back. If your symptoms keep coming back, talk to your doctor. It could be irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C. Linzess could help you get ahead of it. Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix and boom, you're missing a part. But it's okay because whatever it is, it's on eBay and it's guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. A federal judge blocked President Trump's administration from deploying the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, until at least Friday, saying she found no credible evidence that protests in the city grew out of control before the president federalized the troops earlier this fall. The city and state sued in September to block the deployment. And the government shutdown could become the longest in U.S. history this week. Federal workers, including air traffic controllers, are set to miss additional paychecks. There's also uncertainty over whether 42 million Americans who receive federal food aid will be able to access that assistance. Senate Democrats have voted 13 times against reopening the government, insisting they need Trump and Republicans to negotiate with them first. The bodies of dozens of Palestinians have been returned after Hamas handed over the remains of soldiers. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma has more.
Health officials in Gaza say Israel has handed over the bodies of 45 Palestinians. Nasser Hospital in the Palestinian territory adding it had received the bodies on Monday morning. This comes a day after Hamas returned to Israel the remains of 3 soldiers who were taken hostage in the October 7, 2023 attack that triggered the war. The exchange marks another step forward for the tenuous US brokered ceasefire. Since the truce started on October 10, Palestinian militants have released the remains of 20 hostages, with 8 bodies still in Israel. Health officials in Gaza have struggled to identify bodies without access to DNA kits. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Kimberly Clark is buying Tylenol maker Kenvue in a cash and stock deal worth about $48.7 billion. The deal is expected to close in the second half of next year. This is AP News. The Dodgers prevail in baseball's first World Series Game 7 since 2019 to win their 9th championship.
For a second straight season, the Los Angeles Dodgers are World Series champions. LA manager Dave Roberts.
Really proud of our team, our guys, the way we fought, and we've done something that hasn't been done in decades.
Will Smith hit a tie-breaking solo homer in the 11th inning, and LA beat the Blue Jays 5-4 in Game 7 of the World Series in Toronto. Yoshinobu Yamamoto tossed 2 2/3 scoreless to pick up the win and was named World Series MVP. LA's Miguel Rojas hit a tying solo homer in the 9th. LA is the first team since the Yankees in 1999 and 2000 to win back-to-back titles. Toronto fell short of its first title in 32 years. Jays manager John Schneider.
7 games, 2 of them go to extras. I thought we played great baseball.
I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high around 60 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, increasing cloud cover with a low around 40. By Tuesday, skies become mostly sunny, high of 61 degrees. And Wednesday, sunshine with a high around 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 45. 1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Great to be with you on this November 3rd, 2025. Wow. 2 more months to the end of the year. And a lot's going on. This is election week in the country. And there's a lot of very important elections taking place. I talked about the governor's races out east and so many other races throughout the country. And there's folks that are running for office in the next year, and certainly by the time we get to the midterms in 2026. And one of the things that I'm doing this week is kind of having a light version of Candidates Week to talk to folks that are running for office on a local level, state, and of course on a federal level. And with us is our very own, from the 2nd Congressional District in Illinois, our very own Congresswoman who has just been a big lady swinging these last few weeks, and that's Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Good morning, Congresswoman. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm just great, ready to swing this week.
That's right. Well, when I say you've been busy, that's kind of an understatement, because you've been busy being a Congresswoman, doing your everyday congressional duties, if you will, but also, of course, with next year's election for this Senate seat with Dick Durbin, you've been busy there as well. But I want to talk a little bit about, obviously, there's more than one elephant in the room. I guess there's a few of them in the room right now with the issues that we're all dealing with and that you guys are trying to navigate. You have been very, very unapologetic and very pronounced in your criticism of how the Republican Party is really the party that's at fault with this shutdown. And some of the folks in other forms of media have been trying to pin it on Democrats by asking the question, why won't the Democrats do X, i.e. negotiate? Why won't the Senate do X? So I want to start off there, because I know that's really the most important American topic right now, because this is affecting every single person in the country. Give us your updates, your thoughts, your frustrations with all of this.
Well, first of all, Democrats don't want a shutdown. Republicans are in charge of the White House, the House, and the Senate. So they're the ones in charge. And when we averted the shutdown before, there was supposed to be negotiations around health care and Medicaid and different things like that, and there was nothing that went on. So why should we trust them? And even though, some people in the media like to say, we're all home, but no, Democrats have come to D.C. every single week. Lita Jeffries has been here every single week. I've helped run 13 out of I think it's 15 hearings now, many of them in D.C., if not in D.C., in Virginia, in Pennsylvania. We had one in Louisiana. So we're hearing from the American public, and what they're saying to us, if things are implemented like they want, no extended tax credits, Medicaid being cut. A nurse said people will die. She was very frank. A mom with a young man that gets benefits because he's autistic, in his school, that those things will not continue. He will not be able to progress and be, an independent young man as he goes into adulthood. So we're hearing from all kind of people. It's not about Democrat or Republican when it comes to the people that will be hurt. It doesn't matter where you live, how you vote. So many people will be hurt. And we're here waiting to discuss it and come up with a solution in a bipartisan manner.
I think that, a couple of the clips that I've seen in some of the press conferences that I've watched, your colleague, and I have to tell you, Representative Kelly, I love how the congressional leaders that I've had the privilege to talk with, like yourself and many others, everyone I've said, stop using colleagues to talk about the folks on the other side of the aisle. They're not your colleagues until they start to act right. They ain't acting
true.
right, so they don't get colleague. You all are starting to use it to reference each other, and I'm so thankful to hear that. And so one of your colleagues, Representative Stansbury from New Mexico, spoke to that exact fact that you guys are the ones that are there. You're there getting the work done. And so to the media that's been asking, why won't you consider negotiating or calling, your colleagues on in the Senate to say vote differently? Where are the Republicans? And I'm sure you've seen by now the press conference that Representative Neguse from Colorado just had about resetting the record and setting the record straight. How are you feeling about your colleagues speaking that kind of truth right now?
No, I love it. We're Democrats, so there's issues that come up. We're from soup to nuts. But this issue, we are all together, walking in lockstep, having events in our district in DC. I'm in DC now. We are trying to inform the public as much as possible what the truth really, really is. And, it's ridiculous. We could jump from one topic to another, like what's happening with SNAP. Absolutely ridiculous. There's contingency funds, but we are choosing, not to use those funds. And now, despite what the judge said, so, let's see what happens. But one thing I'm proud of, the public, so many food pantries, churches, organizations stepped up. I was at a food giveaway on Saturday, and I'm trying to help a church start something on their own. I was just invited to another one. So we are stepping up, looking out for each other. And as I said, it's not about if you're Democrat or Republican or independent, that this affects everyone.
It does. And this is where I think that the country, one of the things that I've tried to do, Representative, is to say we could blame the elected officials all day long, and in most cases right now with the GOP, there's the blame is in their lap. There's no question about it, because they have the numbers, they have the levers of power in these three areas that would make these things go away or be a lot less painful for the country. So what I've been saying is, Republican voters, y'all need to get your act together too, because they are, they've given you the razor blade to self-inflict. So stop voting this way, because they're the ones that are hurting you. And so, especially farmers. And I know that sometimes may seem harsh to say to people, you can't vote for certain people, and then when you get this outcome, expect something different. And that's why I don't always put the blame on our elected officials. I know that you all have to take and go do the work that you signed up for, quote unquote. But I have to call out the everyday voter and say, listen, we've got to do a better job of electing more Democrats, because our ideas make more sense. They're better for the country. And right now, the ideas coming from the Republicans don't make any sense for the country.
I know. Well, sometimes I think that when people vote, and they may agree with the person, but they don't think it's going to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's going to happen to the other guy. And I think that with the farmers, they're in shock, starting with USAID, moving to tariffs, moving to SNAP, moving to bailing out, Argentina, $40 billion, and talking about buying beef from Argentina when we have beef here, So I think they realize that he's about himself. He is not, he uses people. The minute you're not loyal, or the minute something's not convenient for him, then you can go by the wayside. And, I'm sure Speaker Johnson, when he slips up, he'll go by the wayside also. But he's supposed to be a leader. He's a leader of the House. He's a speaker, and he is bending the knee. He talks about being this Christian man, but I'll just say the untruths that he spews out of his mouth, No one's perfect. No one's perfect, but oh my goodness.
Yeah, when you say that you are a certain thing, and then you do what seems to be the exact opposite. I mean, we've been around life long enough to have heard the phrase a few times. What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
To my understanding, this is not what that name
Not
said.
this.
Would not do this. So you mentioned Speaker Johnson, and I have to ask you this question. How are you guys reacting, navigating, dealing with the fact that he won't swear in duly elected Arizona Representative Grijalva?
Horrible.
I know you can't say it on the air, but I know there might be some words you might want to use, but help us out there.
It's horrible. It's despicable. He swore in 2 Republicans when we weren't in session. He could do, he could have done, the same thing for her, and he refused to do it because, again, behind this shutdown, there's something called the Epstein files. And when he swears her in, he knows she'll be 218 to open the files. And believe me, I believe for some of them, this has something to do with it also. I don't know what's in there. I could guess. Some of the wrong names might be there, but they're suing and they should be sued. When she comes to D.C., she has to pay her own way because she's not a duly elected member. At first, they didn't even let her in her office. They had her leave, but now she can go in her office. But it's hard to hire staff. It's hard to represent your district if you don't have all the tools. And on top of that, we're shut down.
And does she not have access to? She doesn't have access to hiring and the tools that allow that to happen. So she's truly not representing the people of her district.
And we've seen, authorities from her district saying that she's not representing the people because she's not real. She's elected, but not sworn in. I mean, he should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah.
Ashamed of himself. I mean, I don't know how he looks at himself in the mirror.
Well, because there's a red thing behind his head that probably reflects more than his own image.
A devil sign behind his head.
There you go. See, wow, look, you grabbed a little bit of that flame there. So kudos to you, Representative. All right, so let me just say this real quickly. So many of us are asking the question, like, okay, so great. We know what's wrong with the Republican Party, the GOP right now. So in this moment, specifically, because I know we'll try to talk a little bit about ICE, and if you've got a little bit more time, we can certainly go past the bottom of the hour, but that's your call. We are all turning to leadership, asking what's next, what's going to happen, and how do you format the next? What's next in terms of getting through this budget crisis, getting through this shutdown crisis? How much longer do you think it's going to go? What will be the fix? What will be the next? Complicated, I know it is, but messy, yes. Listeners all over the country want to know what leaders are really thinking in that space. What's going to be next?
Right. Well, I think that, as we have said, as people start to get their premiums, which they're starting to get, and again, all kind of people, as people, are furloughed, as air traffic controllers, don't get paid, or a lot of people don't get paid. My staff is not getting paid. Hopefully voices will be raised and the public can raise their voices and pressure, can be put on. But I mean, how many people are we going to see lose their health care? Because that is, the bottom line, that people are going to lose their health care. And everything they put in that big, ugly bill is not even implemented yet. And that's what we're fighting for, that all these millions and millions and millions of people don't lose their health care. What's happening with SNAP? I mean, again, the bill, what they're saying, a clean CR, clean bill. The bill is not clean because they put their little cuts in when, after. So it's not clean. So I'm hoping, maybe not this week, but next week, that we come to, that we can come together and there's some, resolution. But again, President Trump is going to have to care and tell Speaker Johnson to meet with us, because he's the one that can, bring the House Republicans back. The Senate is back. The Senate Republicans, Senate Dems, and the House Dems are here. It's just the House Republicans are not here. all of us have been coming in for the most part, have been coming in. And as I said, having hearings, trying to have meetings and things like that. But, we need the House Republicans.
Yeah.
So I wish I had a crystal ball, but I'm feeling that, as we get closer and closer to the holidays, if people aren't eating, there's bad things that are going to happen because people want to eat and feed their families. Grocery stores, big or large, will be affected. So as this goes on, to me, it affects more and more people. I know I read an article where still not enough people were affected by this. I mean, you should just care. But so when that happens, as that grows, we'll have more voices, more allies. As I said, we're fighting with one arm tied behind our back, but I'm fighting till this arm falls off, then I'll start kicking. And I think as things go on, more people will be kicking with us. So, yeah. And then, also hoping, you mentioned my former colleagues, hopefully they're going to win their gubernatorial races in New Jersey and Virginia. And actually, there's been like 33 special elections, and we've flipped 3 seats in areas that Trump won, and where we turn places into the majority, we held the majority. So people are looking. There's some more races coming up, but hopefully Mikey and Abigail can pull this through for us.
Absolutely. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we are talking to one of the best congressional leaders, Congresswoman Robin Kelly from the great state of Illinois. All right. You're running for Senate.
Yes.
Talk to us about where you're going, how you feeling. I mean, I'm going to just say this because obviously we've got 3 super qualified people, you, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, and Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, that are running for this Senate seat in Illinois. It's too bad all 3 of y'all can't be senators because all 3 of y'all are some badasses. And I'm excited about you all being in this race and showing how deep of a bench we have. But obviously, I know you want to win. So what's going to be your secret sauce to help get you? And it's still a long ways away, but it's a short. We'll look up and we'll be, the end of October. What's your secret sauce? And not secret because it's not. That's going to help you, in your mind, get across the finish line.
Well, in my mind, I appreciate what you just said, but I just ask people to check the record to see who has really done the work, who has really delivered. And I would say that would be me. It's about experience. It's about relationship building on both sides of the aisle, even though I won't call the other side my colleagues.
That's right.
But about building relationships on both sides of the aisle, about not being afraid to speak up, show up, and stand up. I feel like I've done all these things. I've worked on every level of government. I get it. I understand it. I can hit the ground running. And again, have the relationships. I'm looked at as a coalition builder. And I know I can do the job because I've been doing the job. I know the 2nd District, I have delivered for my district, whether it's legislation, whether it's resources, whether it's my constituent services. So I know I have what it takes. And I'm sure they're going to say the same thing, but
they should, if they want, they should, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
But let's do fact checking. That's, I'm not, they're going to have more money or the appearance of more money. But I really, really ask people in this very important time, Trump is still going to be the president. Don't look at who has the most money. Please look at who's done the most, and let that be, a mirror or vision into what's going to happen in the Senate. So, yes, I definitely think I'm the most qualified person running. Again, I have done the work. I'm doing the work. I have I mean, we all have endorsements, but I think the idea that so many people in the second district endorse me, that speaks to, and outside, of course, but that speaks to the work I've done. I'm glad to have the endorsement of Senator Murphy. We've done so much work around gun violence prevention together, and I expect a few more endorsements.
Yeah, and they will come. One of the great things one of the things that I like to say about our team, if you will, is that we have a great bench, and we have folks that may not be at the same level in terms of their success and their prowess, et cetera, and they're delivering on the goods, if you will. But we still have a great bench, and one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, is oftentimes people are saying, well, where are the Democrats? Who's going to be the next, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know that you hear it ad nauseum, but we have a great bench. And I think we have a great bench because we have folks with better ideas. And everyone may not be at the same level of where those ideas are and how they need to be implemented. But I believe we have a very, very good bench because of the people that we are trying to get elected to different offices throughout the country, on the smaller elections, local, if you will, and on a national level. So talk a little bit about our bench. Because to your point, two of your colleagues are running for gubernatorial offices. And my goodness, if they win there, those are tectonic shifts that have to happen.
Sure. And actually, I have colleagues like my former colleague in Colorado is a governor of Colorado. I have two colleagues, the mayor of Oakland, the mayor of Los Angeles. Those are my former colleagues, Keith Ellison, AG, and we could not be as far ahead of the game, if you want to say that, if it wasn't for the AGs, my hat goes off to them. But, it's very important to be open, to build a bench. Even in like my district, I started something to, not the second congressional Dems, not just to inform, but to build the bench, to get young people involved. I have a youth cabinet, that starts in high school so that, people have politics and governance, on their mind. But no, there is a great bench. I mean, there's a great group of people in Congress. There's people that I've met, a lot of people from different states that are serving on the state level. What we can do federally, they're carrying out on the state level as state senators and state reps. So we just need to keep in contact, keep talking to each other, keep encouraging each other, keep lifting each other up, because no one's going to be in their place, forever. Like there's good people running to take my place. I told him I can't endorse. It's a game of addition for me. I'm not trying to piss anybody else off, but whether it's mayor or whatever it is, school board, library board, it's all, every level is very, very important because believe me, that's how Republicans built their bench. And they had a long range plan, not that you necessarily have to pick one person, but get a few people, that can take your place. I mean, I think that's a good thing.
It is. And I think we've finally kind of gotten the message in the this last election cycle that our bench is there. We just haven't really, for lack of better words, added the fertilizer to get it to grow. It's existed, but it just hasn't grown and been speaking up enough. And a lot of our chronologically older leaders I think are recognizing that, and that's why some are stepping down and providing opportunities for folks like you to run in some of those other national seats.
But the funny thing about that's true. But the funny thing about that, people love Nancy. They love Auntie Max. They love Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah,
Well, we've got it. This is something, and I love the way you put that, Congresswoman. We have historically in the Black community, we always give respect. I believe. And not to say that other cultures and communities don't, but we've always recognized the importance of the older folks and the messages that they have. And I think that what the party is starting to see now is that those messages just need to be continually shared with so many others that are coming through. It doesn't mean that someone has to necessarily leave. However, the messaging and the energy that can be shared is so important as to how we can continue to strengthen our bench. So
definitely,
it's good to see that. couple other questions, and now being that you're here in Illinois, South Suburban elected official. By the way, one of your constituents, a woman named Karen from the South Suburbs of Chicago, that's in your district, called us. She couldn't get through, but she said, just please let Congresswoman know that we support her and that we love everything that she's doing. So
thank you.
I'll share
Thank you, Karen.
I'll share that with you. But let's talk a little bit about this crazy. I made a little bit of a joke earlier, and it was a joke that was meant to represent some elements of humanity and safety. We're coming up on winter in Chicago and the upper Midwest and in many parts of the country where the weather could, it could be anything. We know how weather runs in the Midwest. And families are being displaced. Members are being snatched. You know the story. And so I made a joke earlier. I said, ICE needs to be careful because they're going to get hurt too, because they're going to slip on some black ice trying to rally and grab folks. And I meant that as a way to acknowledge that, have some humanity about what you're doing now, ICE, because it's about to get really cold. And to be out there dragging folks out of vehicles, dragging folks from cars, taking people from schools and other places is just flat out humane anytime. But particularly these next 4 to 5 months in Chicago and the upper Midwest. So long, lots of thoughts about this. Where are you in this ICE conversation at this point?
Well, what's going on is horrific. I don't know if you knew this, but the helicopter that landed was my district.
I do.
The car crash that happened was my district. The woman who had been here for 20 years started up a tamale business that they snatched. She has a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, but the 16-year-old has the mental capacity of someone younger. They didn't know where their mom was. We helped them, and also with the help of my colleague, Veronica Escobar, who is an immigration lawyer. Their mom was sent to her district. So, looking at any silver lining, and she's been able to help, even though their mom still hasn't come home. But it's horrendous what they're doing. And I mean, these folks are working. They're doing the lawns, washing the windows in the restaurants, and they're coming in and snatching them. One of my supporters has a landscape business, and I called her crying on the phone because just the inhumane ways that they're treating people, and people are getting hurt. And then even I called the Chicago police and said, and they said, well, they don't help ICE, but they still have to serve and protect everybody, and I do think that more people will get hurt. We've had people die. I do think more people will get hurt. I think some of them will get hurt. I know somebody they tried to snatch. The crowd gathered so tough, they let the person go. Mm-hmm. But there was a car accident, bad weather, you're chasing cars down, could be more car accidents, The only thing is with some of the professions that people have or careers or what they do for a living, you won't do that in the winter, even though they could do shoveling or, maybe and rest. It's hurting everybody. Again, it doesn't matter if you're documented or undocumented. It's hurting the restaurants. It's hurting, people coming to work. It's also hurting people coming to eat. It's hurting economically because people don't want to be out. People are not going outside. I've had so many people tell me that they're telling their family members not to go out. And again, they're grabbing American citizens. In the building that the helicopter landed, they grabbed Black American citizens. So it's about everybody. It's not just about one group. Different people are being affected. We know, Black Jamaicans, Black Haitians, and then I just was a part of a conversation where someone was talking about Asians, being, picked up. So it's a horrendous situation. I believe in Chicago because he couldn't get the National Guard in. He doubled down on ICE. Yeah. And last week was pretty bad. Last Thursday and Friday, they were all over the place and in all neighborhoods. Because even in the wealthier neighborhoods,
you saw that up in
the workers.
Yeah, I saw that up in
snatching
Evanston,
the workers.
Where they grabbed one of the guys who was properly protesting, and I mean, it's despicable. And I know that it turns your stomach, and being
Definitely.
You've got to see it from the vantage point that you do. Congresswoman, as you know, we could talk on and on about all the things that you're working on, and I mean this when I say this to all of our elected officials that are in this fight. We're proud of you, and I want to be able to continue to prop you up and amplify the good work that you're doing. We know that it ain't nobody perfect, and we're not looking for that. We're just looking for folks to be able to fight and fight like you have been, and your colleagues, your true colleagues are. What are some final words that you can provide to people? I know people want solutions, they want answers, but what would be something that you can share with the people that are listening and that want to know what they should be doing and thinking and feeling as we go forward?
Well, as I always tell people, please don't get weary. I know it's ugly, but don't get weary, because we need people to stay in the fight. When you get weary and tired, you don't stay in the fight. So don't let the chaos overwhelm you. That's what they want, and we can't give them what they want. But, we have the solutions. We're saying extend the ACA tax credits. We're trying to claw back what they did as far as Medicaid, because so many people, will lose their health care. Hospitals will close. Emergency rooms will, be even busier, and people will die, as we say. So we have solutions we can speak with them about. We just need them to come back to work. But I think as their constituents rise up, even Marjorie Taylor Greene agrees, because it happened to her sons, which if you're elected, you need to see the big picture, not just what happens to your family. You need to care about all families.
Right.
But with some people, that's what it takes. But even she's seeing, and we hear the little whispers that they're starting to disagree with each other, but they're trying to do slick things like, we'll extend it to November 2026, because they know they're on the verge of losing. We haven't talked about the redistricting or remapping. We can do that another time.
We will.
But they're trying to steal the elections that way, because they know that if things continue, they are going down. Some are not even running again because they know. But I do believe that sometime soon people will come to the table, because they cannot see this continue to go on. And as they hear from their constituents, so call in, especially if you are from a red state, a red city, have a Republican representative.
So if you have a couple of extra minutes, we'll take a tiny break and come back if you want. We can talk a little bit about the redistricting, because since you mentioned that, if you have a couple minutes, we can hit that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do that. Devin, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Representative Robin Kelly from the great state of Illinois. We'll be right back.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
This is a WCPT Civil Rights Snapshot. Most people believe that the most historic thing the Pittsburgh Pirates did in 1971 was win the World Series. However, history was made by the Pirates back in September by starting an all-black lineup, the first in Major League Baseball history, 24 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. Despite being a historic event, it largely went unnoticed as the newspapers were on strike and the radio broadcast drew little attention to the event, not even mentioning it until the second inning, and the teams themselves not even knowing they had made history. The Pirates won that game 10-7. Rennie Stennett, Gene Clines, Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell, Manny Sanguillen, Dave Cash, Al Oliver, Jackie Hernandez, and Doc Ellis pitching. All these men made history that day and helped lead the Pirates to win the 1971 World Series. And outfielder Roberto Clemente became the first Latin American player to win the World Series MVP award. Please stay vigilant about our civil rights. The fight is never over.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high around 60 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, increasing cloud cover with a low around 40. By Tuesday, skies become mostly sunny, high of 61 degrees, and Wednesday, sunshine with a high around 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 43.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
This is Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We are still with Congresswoman Robin Kelly. And Congresswoman, we had a moment where you mentioned what's happening with this redistricting, and we didn't get a chance to talk about that. I apologize. So much to talk about. But yes, you take the baton. Where are you? Where are your colleagues when it comes to this conversation of redistricting and how that's impacting us right now?
Well, he's trying to steal the election, so trying to take 5 seats from Texas. And the Texans actually came in and spent some time in Illinois. But Gavin Newsom is trying to counterbalance that with what they're calling Prop 50, where California finds 5 Democratic seats. So we'll know tomorrow. Yeah. There's the vote. So, and now they've gone to Missouri, trying to get rid of Cleaver, Indianapolis, Andre Carson, Don Davis in North Carolina. Do they have something in common? And possibly Amelia Sykes, in Ohio. So we feel like we have to fight fire with fire at this point. So the leader has gone to Maryland, has come to Illinois. Depending on what happens, we're hoping Abigail Spanberger, pulls it off. And then, we can go to Virginia, and New York is looking at something too. And believe it or not, there's another state I'm trying to remember, but we're asking, like Illinois, can you find us one more Democratic seat to make up for trying to get rid of a Democrat in another state? Right. And it's a temporary fix to a big problem, because when the census, we do the census in 2030, so the maps will change, anyway. But this is what we feel like we have to do right now, because again, they're trying to steal the election by remapping and giving Republicans the advantage. So it's tough. You have your district, and you may not want to change, but also those of us in Congress, it's tough. I've been in Congress 12 and a half years. I've been in the majority only 4 of those years, and it's amazing we've been able to get something like what Joe Biden did in his 4 years. I know people don't appreciate it. They remember other things, but we were able to get a lot done that we couldn't get done, otherwise. And it's really, really important that, we have a fair chance. It's not that we like doing this, but they've left us no choice, frankly, so that's why we're pushing, and hopefully the Illinois legislature will agree. Sounds like Maryland's legislature, agrees, and they're already 7-1. So there's only 1 seat, to be gotten. But yeah, they're trying to wipe out actually many, many, many CBC members, a few Latin members, when you look at Texas, but it's really CBC members they're trying to wipe out.
Yeah. And so to your point about, we don't want to have to do this, but it's where we are. And I just go to the extent that I can speak to this about military strategy, engagement in warfare. You have a plan, and then that plan gets diverted. So and you don't want to have to do a certain thing, but any military leader, any colonel or general in any of the branches of our military will tell you, you have to navigate according to what that warfare brings to you. And that's where we are right now. I think a lot of us on the Democratic side and those who might be in the center, recognize that this is not what we want to do, but we want to save democracy. We want to have a midterm election so that we can then have a 2028 election.
Exactly.
And so if we have to make a little bit of an adjustment in one spot we don't want to, but it's going to prevent us from a bigger pain down the road, then that's what we got to do.
And it's just temporary.
It's temporary.
Right.
Yeah, that's so important. Congresswoman, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you and have you on the show. And you're so gracious in taking the time to be with us. I know we went a little bit longer than we had originally planned, but I appreciate that because I know our listeners, not only here in Illinois, but those who stream throughout the country, they want to know. They're begging for our leaders like you to speak the truth and to keep them informed as to what's happening so that they can they don't get caught up in being depressed or being discouraged because they know that the folks are fighting. And I know you are fighting. And that's one of the things that I'm so proud of and so thankful for as one of our great congressional leaders. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. And the only other thing I would say, any of your listeners that fly, thank TSA.
Yeah. I just had an experience recently where I wanted, you get frustrated sometimes and you just have to pull your ego out of the situation and recognize what they're dealing with right now, too. So you're absolutely right. Congresswoman Robin Kelly from the great state of Illinois. Thank you so much for being with us, man. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Have a good week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, what can I tell you? But having her on is always a pleasure. It's always a joy. She's just phenomenal. And she's in the fight. She's been in the fight for, she said, 12 years in Congress. But she's not giving up. And she's making it clear to everybody that right now, which camera are we on? Here. That one. Okay. People both. Okay. Hi, over here, over there. She's been in the fight 12 years, and she continues to be one of those people that we should be supporting. What my hope, we're going to have a Democratic senator from Illinois, whether it be Congresswoman Kelly, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, or Congressman Krishnamurthy, and that's a good thing. So I'm happy either way. My favorite is the Democrat. So let's put it that way. Some people have said, well, who's your favorite, Richard? The Democrat. And that's true for the congressional seats that we're fighting for as well. The Democrat, because even imperfect as she even said, we're better than we're better. We are the vote for because we're better than the other, than the against. And I get some criticism, and bring it on, from all different points of view about we need to vote for something. Yes, we do. We need to vote for the Democrats and help them do a better job and do the things that we want them to get done. And vote against the GOP. Yes, we can walk and chew gum and doggone it. Let's stop running away from saying that they're stinky, that they're awful, because they are. And we can vote against them and vote for our people at the same time. We need to stop apologizing for that. I'm sick and tired of hearing people say, well, the Democrats need to give us something to vote for. Are you crazy? If you can't vote against that, then that's part of the problem. Let's be honest, y'all. So to the 89 million folks out there that did not vote because you didn't think it was, Kamala Harris or the Democratic Party was getting things done for you, look at what's happening now. And so, some of those who've criticized and say, Richard, why are you blaming the voters? Because the voters are the ones that vote, y'all. That's the reason why. I'm not blaming the voters. I'm just saying, come on, let's stop this whining and childlike behavior. Get out and vote in the current elections. And I appreciate my man Al from Franklin Park. He reminded me last week, Richard, we need to keep talking about not just the midterm elections, but all of them. So a shout out to Al from Franklin Park for that reminder. Yes, all of them matter. Congresswoman Kelly just said that the Republicans took a long time to get to where they are now in terms of the numbers that they have, because they started on these small elections, these local elections that, frankly, sometimes we kind of skipped over. That no longer is an option. We have to fight tooth and nail and bring everything we got to these fights, guys. I'm passionate about it. If you can't tell, I am. That's where I am right now in this space. Devin, I want to take a tiny little break before we wrap up the show. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Constipation with belly pain that keeps coming back and back and back. If your symptoms keep coming back, talk to your doctor. It could be irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C. Linzess could help you get ahead of it. Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I wanted to answer a question. I was asked, what's the name of the GoFundMe that Karen Byrne put together? A couple ways you can access it. Donate to Christopher's family house and fed. I think that's one way. But if you go to her Substack, Resistance Journal, then you'll be able to find the name. And it's under her name, Karen Byrne. So that way you can be part of the solution in trying to help this family. And there's so many others out there. We know that. And I highlight them when they come my way. In this case, I wanted to highlight what Karen is doing. Trump's numbers are in the tank. The poll, let me just read this to you real quickly. Hold on. This comes from HuffPost. President Donald Trump is the most unpopular he's been this term, according to a recent Washington Post ABC News Ipsos poll. In the poll, which was conducted between October 24th and 28th dates, 59% of U.S. adults said they disapproved of Trump's handling of the presidency. Ha! That's in the toilet, dude. That's past 50% by 9 percentage points. That's 20% past 50%, if you want to do the math. That tells you something right there. And it's not moving in a better direction. 55% disapproved during that same measuring time of his leadership overall. So let's keep amplifying that. When you run across somebody that says, yeah, but Trump, say, yeah, but his polls, according to 3 different sources, say that 59% of America disapproves of how he's handling the country. And 59% disapprove of his presidency, and 55% disapprove of his leadership. That's your answer. That's your response. You don't have to defend the Democrats. You can. Here are a couple of texts that I received that I just also found kind of charming. One from a listener that says, a choice between a MAGA-backed candidate and a fire hydrant. I enthusiastically vote for the water source. I love that. Nice little play on words, 708, the water source. I agree with you. That's at least the water source you can depend on to be there. Let's see what else is someone saying. Oh, this is good. Somebody should offer little Mike, I'm meaning Mike Johnson, a trident to carry around. Oh, Lordy. And then Raina has got something to say. This is pretty good. I don't know if I can say one of these words, but Raina says, get registered and vote. Check your voting status. Vote blue no matter who. If you don't vote, don't. She uses the B word, but I'm going to say don't whine. I'll be respectful. My mother and father would appreciate that I was respectful in this moment. I'll read it again. Get registered and vote. Check your voting status. Absolutely check your voting status, even if you believe you're registered to vote. Vote blue no matter who. if you don't vote, don't whine. Yeah, I agree. I mean, seriously, what? Don't whine. Let's see. All right, there we go. Some good stuff from you guys. And let me be clear. I'm not blaming the people who don't. I'm not blaming the people who participate. I'm not pointing my ire at those who participate. So don't read this the wrong way. And I respect that you guys would push me on this. I am saying that if you don't vote and you complain and whine, you kind of are yelling into the dark. So it's that when I say what I'm saying, I'm not talking about those who are participating, those who are doing the work, those who are fighting for not just themselves, but other people who may not have the same capacity. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about those who don't participate. And I understand that there's people that say, Richard, I'm just done. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to let y'all figure this out. I get that too. I really honestly do. That people that say, you know what, Chew, I hear you, but I'm done, dude. I've been fighting this fire. I've been trying to fight with the fire extinguisher that's barely working. And or maybe not even don't even have a fire extinguisher. But I hear you when you guys say that. I truly do. It's those who don't want to do anything and blame that I have a frustration with. Because then step out of the way and let somebody get in the fight that's willing to fight. That if you've got capacity, it's kind of like if you've got, there's a fire in your building and you do have a fire hose and you choose not to use it because you're like, well, what's it going to do? Then don't complain that the building got burned down. And that's a harsh way of putting it, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. I wanted to be optimistic. Find a way to use that hose or give it to somebody that will use it and use it adeptly. That's where we are right now. But I'm also wanting to be encouraging to say, but let's also try to get people in the fight. That's a big part of it. That's what Congresswoman Kelly was trying to say in part. And by the way, guys, don't be a John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania. Good Lord. Is that a senatorial waste of 6'9" of a human being? Good Lord, Fetterman. Come on, man. But, this is another situation where people tried to tell people that he may not be the right person for that Senate seat. But here we go. We can't relive the past. We can only talk about it and try to learn something from it. Guys, it's been great to be with you this Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Congresswoman Kelly is always great to have on the show. We will have her back again because we want to make sure that we're helping her in the work that she's doing as a congresswoman. And tomorrow, let's make sure we got this right. What do we have tomorrow? Oh, my goodness. Hold on. Bear with me, guys. I had my notes in front of me. I know this by heart, but I also want to always get it right. Tomorrow, as a part of our Candidates Week, Francesca Hong will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour. All things work out. And at 7:30, our own Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton will be with us in the 7:30 hour. So that should be some fun. And I look forward to interviewing both of them and chatting with them about their elections and all that they're working on. So for now, guys, as always, keep yourselves focused, keep working hard, stay in the fight. And if you need some motivation, give me a call, send us an email, send us a text. We'll do our best to keep you in the fight. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Marcel Spears. Keeping our global neighborhood safe is a tough job, one made just a bit safer with the help of America's brave